is problematic and agency. And those are the two things. Those are the two things that people, I think, while your group and within your group, your generation, and this speaks for your generation, so many people tried to, take exception with what was on the charts, because it represented something that you didn't like, or represented something at all. I think now people are trying extremely hard to find exception with anything. And I think that's why people are taking exception with your book. Not because they think that it's specifically, reflecting poorly on the school, but because they think that anything written about anything, is gonna, affect the wide opinion of it. And I think why your book is really good, and what it pointed out to me, is that, things always change, but in the same way they kind of stay the same, in the respect that there's still those, the same kind of people here. They just look different. You know what I mean? Or act different.
Or they look the same.
Yeah, it's true.
That's very kind. I think I'd be more kind to my critics than you are, and I can see how you feel proud of the place. You want people to speak well of it.
Not necessarily.
And,
I mean, I'd be just as happy to, I feel like I could write a book that, does nothing but compliments the school, and a book that does nothing but insult it, and they'd be sequential.
I think that people writing about their experiences and people talking about what they went through, I think is always good. I think there's never, I'm sorry that mine is the only book that's been written about Hampshire. I wish there were 50 others out there, but and hopefully someday there will be. But I think people talking, these events happen. This was my experience, and just to some people it's interesting. I wouldn't worry about it. Again, I think there's about 150 people in America that read literary memoirs these days. So I don't think between them they're going to bring down the college. But if anybody had a better experience, then you should write your memoir of it. Yes, sir.
Your book is by your own admission, not like traditionally eventful, and I agree that in some ways is very reminiscent of my first 2 years as a college student, and that wasn't even at Hampshire. But my question is, the book only tells 2/5 of your college career. Why did you choose to cut off the last 3 years, where seemingly, I'm wondering, does anything happen in your last 3 years? Was that where your story ended? Obviously not. I just wonder why you chose to break it up.
Unfortunately, generally in art and in life, plain land safely tends not to be a big story. And guy goes to class and turns in his paper on time. Tends not to make you don't tend to call up all your friends and give them the news when you turn in a paper on time.
It's really a paper.
But it's this was the period where my experience was something sort of unique and different, and when I became a more dedicated student, it was probably more something that makes my parents very proud, but probably not of much interest to people other than that. Yes, ma'am.
I want to defend the book because I'm a character in it, and I think it's all of you young people today are being really naive and kind of making a judgment, saying this lifestyle of inaction is there's something wrong with it. And
Could you speak up just a little? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm saying people are making a judgment about the lifestyle that you describe with the dicks, and it's a negative judgment, and that's naive. I think I can ascribe it to youth, but I'd like to say I hung out with the dicks. I had an experience much like Richard's, and I went and got a master's in education, and grad school was like kindergarten compared to Hampshire, and I swear I got a really good education. I came out of here knowing how to learn and how to do research better than anybody I met at grad school. So, and I still, you can judge
see for yourself. A few of them just entered the room up here. Stand up. I see Dan Oxenberg. Let me show you the young man pictured on your left here. Dan, you wanna?
Stand up, Dan.
The hero of the story. Is Steve Chevelle here?
Oh, yes. I have a
Oh,
question.
there he is.
Don't you feel that your view of the college and of your entire undergraduate education would be better, more positive, if you hadn't fallen in with a crowd of this Liz ne'er-do-wells?
Yes. I rue it every day, but such is my tale to tell. Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious if you could talk about the 1987 and the takeover of the Deacon, because you
Yes.
announced, because you were here, and I read your book. But I was just kind of curious to get more of your feedback on it, because
Did it more what?
get more of your insight on what that was like, because you were here, and that was your second year, right?
Yeah, you know, so she's asking about the 1987 takeover of the Dakin House. You know, from my perspective, that was a crazy time here.